Coffee Pot Conversations.
Bonjour et bienvenue to Coffee Pot Conversations, the podcast about Paris, which I continue to think I understand despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. Still, it's never stopped me talking about it, so here we are. This is episode 5.7, Lifts and Stairs of Paris. So, what's been going on since last time we spoke? Not much. Went to the Ideal Ham exhibition with Nev, Rory and Jasper, and we bumped into...
Yeah, I'm Dave. I'm Dave Daniels from Small Farmers Coffee, cheered in as Miss Tita Coffee.
So, that was quite exciting. Bought some coffee tea bags from him. Yeah. Anyway, that's pretty much about it. Before we break into the news, I do want to say thank you to my listeners in Luxembourg, keeping me in your charts, so much obliged to you for that. Hugest gratitudes. I don't know any Luxembourgian language, so apologies. But maybe I'll find something for the conclusion. Until that time, let's head over to Paul with the news. I don't actually know where he is. Paul, where you gone? Well, let's cut to him anyway. Yeah, so I was out looking for some news, and then quickly adjust the camera. Apologise for the bright lights in my eyes, which may well turn my glasses dark, but I found some. So, we begin at City Hall, where Emmanuel Grégoire has wasted little time setting direction. In his first weeks as Mayor, Grégoire has outlined a programme focused less on symbolism and more on structure, announcing plans to expand emergency housing with around 7,000 additional places, alongside measures to tackle vacant properties and rising rental pressure. There are also reforms proposed for child safety oversight within Paris schools, especially the after-school clubs, an area that has drawn increasing scrutiny in recent years. But perhaps the most telling move is his willingness to reopen negotiations over the future of the Parc des Princes, mentioned in episodes 5.1, 5.2. Now, on the surface, that may sound like a football issue involving Paris Saint-Germain, but in reality, it's something far more Parisian. It is about land control and identity, whether the city retains ownership of one of its major sites or yields further ground to global sporting economics. Paris may change mayors, but its central question remains the same. Who truly owns a city? Meanwhile, the long-running saga of Tour Montparnasse has resurfaced once again. Originally completed in 1973, the tower has long divided opinion in a city otherwise defined by strict height limits and architectural harmony. Now, a €650 million redevelopment project led by the Nouvelle AOM consortium is finally moving forward after years of delay, debate and redesign. The proposal aims to transform the tower into a more energy efficient and visually integrated structure. But the underlying debate remains familiar: modernise or preserve, profit or public good. There is something almost reminiscent of Georges Eugène Haussmann here, except where Haussmann imposed change upon Paris in the 19th century, today's city negotiates every alteration, often endlessly. On the cultural front, the Philharmonie de Paris has launched a notable new exhibition dedicated to video game music, titled Video Games and Music, The Next Level. The exhibition explores the evolution of game soundtracks, from early electronic compositions to full orchestral scores performed by major symphonies. Located in the Parc de Villette in the 19th arrondissement, the exhibition is scheduled to run until November the 1st. It marks a subtle but important shift. Paris is no longer simply preserving classical culture. It is beginning to formally recognise digital culture as part of its artistic heritage. All I do ask is you check their website for the timings. Because now we move to a moment of pure spectacle, the announcement of a Paris residency by Celine Dion. It triggered extraordinary demand, with tickets disappearing almost instantly in what many have described as a scramble. The residency is scheduled to take place at Paris La Défense Arena, running from September the 12th to October 17th later this year. Hundreds and thousands have registered interest, and unless you are already in the system, your chances may be limited. But that said, Paris does occasionally reward patience. or luck. This weekend just gone brought one of the city's greatest annual events, the Paris Marathon. It took place on Sunday, April the 12th, with over 50,000 runners taking part, with routes stretching across both banks of the Seine. Road closures were widespread and helicopters were a constant presence overhead. It is in many ways a moving portrait of the city seen not from cafes, but from rhythm of feet on the pavement. Elsewhere, Paris has been experiencing unusually warm temperatures for early April, reaching between 24 and 26 degrees Celsius, well above seasonal norms. It's not unprecedented, but it is worth noting. And Paris has always kept quiet records of such anomalies. In another century, they might have been treated as omens. Today, they are simply observed and perhaps quietly remembered. And finally, beneath the surface of the city, something has shifted once more. The catacombs of Paris reopened on April the 8th after a period of closure. The site, housing the remains of an estimated 6 million people, has undergone structural reinforcement, updated visitor routing and subtle changes in lighting and presentation. Originally established in 1786 under Charles-Axel Guillaume during the reign of Louis XVI, and later reorganised in the early 19th century by Louis-Étienne Héricard de Toury under Napoleon Bonaparte, the catacombs have always reflected how Paris chooses to confront its past. This latest reopening is no different. Not a change in what lies beneath, but in how it is shown. So what do we take from all of this? A city adjusting itself once again, a mayor redefining priorities, a tower being reconsidered, culture expanding into new territory, and beneath it all, history quietly represented. Paris, as ever, is not standing still. So until next time, keep the coffee hot, the pot warm, and the conversation cool.
Coffee pot conversations.
One thing I've noticed throughout my stay in the old hotels in Paris is the fact I'm never on the ground floor. In fact, I don't think anyone ever stays on the ground floor. I'm on the 6th floor on this trip. Anyway, it means that me and my overpacked, oversized, overnight bags are having to take the lift to our room. It's okay when it's simply me, but having Nev with me for a few days means 2 suitcases. And when we take the boys, it can be 3 suitcases and 4 bags. Now, when you think of a hotel lift, you maybe think of those large, luxurious gold panel lifts, 2 abreast with 2 opposite, much like you'd find in the 80s TV show that went by the name Hotel. I loved that show, so did my mum. But it also went by its full name, Arthur Haley's Hotel. It ran from 1983 to 1988, and I remember watching it with my mum. It starred James Brolin in his dark-haired days as Peter McDermott, the main man of the show. Connie Sellecca, an actress who I'm vaguely remembering the show, but recently found out she's promoted to Gil Gerard, who played Buck Rogers in the 25th century. Also in the show was Shari Belafonte, who I honestly had no idea was in it. She is the daughter of Harry Belafonte, the singer of such hits as Banana Boat Song, Jump in the Line, Shake, Shake Sonora, and Christmas favourite, Mary's Boiled Child. Lesser known was his song, strangely titled Merci Bon Dieu, meaning Thank You God. The song was actually sang in French Creole, with the real title lyrics being Meki Bon Dieu. It's also known as Matilda. Wait, what? The song has a French title, but it's actually sang in French Creole. What's that all about? Simply put, French Creole is a unique language that expresses the culture and people it represents. It's spoken mainly in Haiti by the Haitians settled in America, other places in the Caribbean and other little areas worldwide. It's actually estimated that around 8 million people speak the language, as opposed to 220 million native French speakers, of which 93 million are students. The French colonisation of the Caribbean is something to be covered loosely, as well as possibly more in depth as the seasons rolls on. But in short, the imposures of both language and culture on the conquered peoples has been documented by many, with better authority than I to pass comment. However, French Creole developed out of necessity. African slaves and their French owners communicated through very basic French, combining what they learned with what they knew. Therefore, their new language took on French, English, Spanish, Portuguese and their native West African tongues. These differences between French and French Creole Not only is in the words, but in the grammatics. Articles follow nouns in French Creole, meaning chien la is the same as le chien, the dog. There is neither gender nor verb conjugation. Alongside this, many of the verbs are spelt and pronounced differently, as Creole words are often spelled how they sound. Pluralisation, there are no s's to show a multiple of an object, you simply add yo. So we would end up with chien yo instead of le chien. The slaves actually end up learning French to communicate with one another, owing to the different African languages that they all knew. Okay, history time. In 1867, the first safe direct action hydraulic lifts were exhibited at the Universal Exposition in Paris by Leon Edu. At the 1878 World's Fair, his unparalleled demonstrations of 4 direct acting hydraulic elevators carried 60 passengers to a height of 85 metres and were located in the Trocadero Towers, which has since been demolished. It is rumoured to still have a few surviving parts incorporated into the new Palais de Chaleur, which was built for the 1937 Universal Exposition on the same site. In 1880, direct acting hydraulic lifts are used to connect separate shops to the Grand Magasin de Louvre, and the following year, Edison demonstrated the 300 horsepower dynamo in Paris. Hang on, the Grand Magasin de Louvre? Yep, it was a department store located on the Palais Royal, where the Grand Hotel de Louvre now stands. It was renowned for having the best window displays in Paris with its toy department at Christmas. It was founded in 1855 and closed its doors in 1974. In 1886, a compressed air network, a driving force for artisans, public clocks and some elevators that were called aerohydraulics, and this was created by Austrian Victor Popp. At the 1889 Universal Exposition, the Eiffel Tower contained 5 steam-powered hydraulic lifts, whilst in the Hall of Machines at the Paris Expo, there were electrically powered platforms running the length of the hall. The hall cost as much as the Eiffel Tower. The exhibition halls contained over 61,000 exhibits and was seen by over 32 million visitors from the 6th of May to the 31st of October. The hall was designed by Frenchman Charles-Louis Ferdinand Duterte, built from iron and glass, being 114 metres wide, 380 metres long, and had a peak of a height at 45 metres. And yet, it was demolished in 1909, 20 years later. On a side note, as I often enjoy, there were sewing machines displayed at the Exposition Universelle, one of which was the Little Rose, the miniature machine by Mr. Isidore Nash of 257 Whitechapel Road, London. Also exhibiting their machines were the Lachman Overseeming Sewing Machine Company of 62 4th Street, the White Sewing Machine with offices in Cleveland, Ohio, 48 Holborn Viaduct and 34 Rue Truffaut, the Davis Sewing Machine Company of Washington and 24 Aldersgate Street. I used to work at number 99 Aldersgate Street, but they were also at 48 Boulevard Sebastopol, and also the Wheeler and Wilson Manufacturing Company of New York, 21 Queen Victoria Street and 105 Boulevard Sebastopol. Mr. Nash with the Little Rose took the bronze medal and was made a member of the French Académie Nationale. During its lifetime, the Galerie des Machines, located at the foot of the Champ de Mars, held the French Exhibition of Agriculture and Food, and also a Barnum and Bailey circus. A wooden track 333 metres long and 8 metres wide was built under the request of Henry Desgrange, the father of the Tour de France, and the gallery became a velodrome. It also housed troops that were assigned to police the city during the general strike in 1906. After the demolition of the Salle de Machines, the velodrome relocated to another building named Velodrome d'Hiver at the corner of Boulevard de Grenelle and Rue Nellation. Nicknamed Veldiv and frequented by Ernest Hemingway as a spectator and fan of 6-day cycle races. In 1924, it hosted the boxing, fencing, weightlifting and wrestling events for the Summer Olympics. 100 years on, and these were held at Arena Paris Nord in Villepinte and Stade Roland-Garros in the 16th for boxing. The Grand Palais in the 8th hosted fencing, weightlifting was in the 15th arrondissement at the Porte de Versailles, and wrestling was back in the Champ de Mars Arena in the 7th. However, 82 years prior to these glorious events, there was a very dark turn. The Veldiv Roundup. On June the 7th, 1942, plans for Operation Vent Printanière, Operation Spring Breeze, were completed, arresting 13,152 Jewish residents, using 9,000 policemen during the early hours of July the 16th, nearly 5 years before my dad was born. The Nazis demanded the keys for the velodrome from the owner, Jacques Godet, and stored the Jews there. The glass roof had been painted dark blue to detract from the bombers, and the windows were now screwed shut. The 3,299 men, 5,802 women, and 4,051 children being held there never had the use of any lavatories. 5 were locked because of the possibility of escape, and the remaining 5 were blocked. For 5 days before being sent to Drancy and then on to Auschwitz, the Quakers Red Cross and a small number of doctors and nurses were allowed to visit, bringing supplies of food and water and tending to the sick. There is now a memorial sculpture at the Porte de Grenelle, as well as a memorial garden of the children of the Veldiv on Rue Nelaton. The building burned down after the final night saw Salvador Dali explode a model of the Eiffel Tower, symbolising the end of the exhibition hall. The Ministry of the Interior and the block of flats now stand on the site. As for the Hall of the Machines, a model can be seen in the Musée d'Orsay. Back to the lifts in the hotels, and in general, unless you're lucky enough to be staying in a modern or luxurious hotel in Paris, the lifts, or elevators they're also called, will be no bigger than roughly 9 feet square, that's 3 foot by 3 foot, making it around 90 centimetres by 90 centimetres, a total of less than a metre squared. We're talking 3 school rulers in all directions. Most often, these sardine tins are placed in a corner of the building next to a set of stairs that spiral upwards or downwards if your glass is half empty. These hotels, and to be fair, some others that don't fit into these excluded categories, have their lifts separate from the staircase, but not many in my experience. I want to be clear, my hotel stays are invariably non-modern and non-luxurious hotels. Don't get me wrong, I've stayed in a Novotel in the 17th and a boutique hotel in the 9th, but on the main, I have low-key, regular hotels that suit my low-key, regular budget. And this is how I enjoy my stays in Paris. I'm not one for exclusivity or highbrow holidays. The stairs that accompany these lifts are quite often laid with carpet and a handrail on the inside of the spiral, meaning the smaller section of the step. I have a size 12 foot, a 47 in French sizing and a 13 in the US. My feet don't fit, and my 6'3" frame, or 190 centimetres, really doesn't help when it comes to balancing precariously on the edge of these carpeted steps. I've been lucky enough to never have been intoxicated with alcohol on my Parisian visits, otherwise my upward journey could conclude with quite literally a downward spiral. I'm not one for lifts on the main, but what stopped me from using the outside handrail? Normally, if there is one, then it's attached to the wall by a total of 4 screws, and that's from the ground floor to the top. My 16 stone, 101 kilogram body isn't the best test for the sturdiness of these ramshackle supports. Don't get me wrong, they're not horrendous. Some are actually very nice staircases with good sized steps, banisters that don't wobble under duress, and with illuminated light shades. This is a city of light after all. But don't expect luxury in every place you stay, and definitely don't expect modernity, nor a level final step on each floor. That's a universal that I've discovered in Paris. There's no rhyme nor reason behind it. Excuse me, sip of coffee. Café crème. So, modernity. Let's talk about the hotel lift for a brief moment again. Invariably, you'll pop your luggage in on arrival and then chase it up the stairs to meet it. I've been lucky that nobody wants to lift on the way to me meeting the luggage, nor have I crossed paths with people on the stairs. But on the whole, you'll come across 2 types of hotel lift. The ones where you push the button, wait, press the button again, and then feel the concertina effect of the blue or brown symmetry safety door whoosh past your face as you double check that contact has been made between the metal plate on the door and the metal plate on the inside of the metal single-spaced wardrobe that you squeezed into. Now, these lifts feel more like service elevators, but being straight with the facts, you know you've reached your floor, or any floor, that the lift stops out on the way. Invariably, you'll only be sharing these types of elevators with your own party and or luggage. The other type of lift, and not always bigger than the first type, are those with the safety of the collapsible or scissor gate. Sometimes they're enclosed within the shaft and you have to be careful as an external door closes with speed, grace and elegance of a stampeding elephant driving a Porsche. Other more aesthetically pleasurable versions are normally enclosed by open staircases, and these are called birdcage elevators. I mean, the first time I entered one of these, that may not be true, I have my first memory of entering one of these, and it was in University College Hospital in London. It's located on a corridor near to a painting on the wall, and that painting was of Marcus Beck, a surgeon and professor of surgery in the 19th century. Owing to a strange phenomenon of para or supernatural activity, shutters were fitted around the painting that had to be opened by the day sister in the morning and closed by the night sister at night. If either of these first duties weren't carried out, someone would unexpectedly die. This painting was sold in 2001, but the lift still haunts me. So, what is the main feature of the scissor gate lift? Simply put, these are the ones that the manual sliding shutter gates that parents fear will shred off a finger and children hide from because of the ghostly noise of the metal frame clanking closed. These gated lifts originally added extra protection in the prevention of passengers perishing from a plummet off the platform. These gates would be opened once the lift had arrived at the designated floor. They are manually operated in general, and the lift would remain static if the gates weren't shut properly. Similarly, the car would stop if they were open mid-journey. This was until better fail-safe safety features were introduced, like a lift operator or enclosed lift shaft.
Coffee Pot Conversations.
And that was episode 5.7, Lifts and Stairs of Paris. Brought to you by Coffee Pot Conversations, hosted by an Englishman in Paris. That's right, that was my handle on Instagram, an Englishman in Paris blog. Find me there, like, comment, subscribe. Probably. I don't know if that's what you can do on Instagram. I give up. It's so complex, everything these days. But if you're following me on the podcasts, itchy, scratchy head, then that's great. You know where to find me for my podcasts. If you find me on Instagram, say hello. Let me know that you found me via the podcast, which would be great. What else to say? I just want to give a quick shout out again to my listeners and viewers in Luxembourg. So thank you for that. Anyone else, let me know where you're coming from. If you want me to give a quick shout out, drop me an email. Shout out at anenglishmaninparis.blog. That's pretty much where all the emails go to. At anenglishmaninparis.blog. Anything you want to type in the beginning part, it's no problem, it'll find its way to me. Generally do the episode number 5.7 at anenglishmaninparis.blog. I've said that so many times now. So I'll drop that there. Just to let you know though, anenglishmaninparis.blog is my blog site. So that's also available, as is voicenotes.anenglishmaninparis.blog. You leave me a little message if you want. I had someone do that, but that's going to be for next season. I need to work that through. So thank you to you. I still haven't forgot. This should be coming up, but I did do an interview with someone else, which I still need to work through, which will more than likely now be next season as well. But that's going to be in the coming up section, which now tells me it's time for Jasper's jingle.
Coming up on Coffee Pot Conversations.
We have episodes 5.8 and 5.9, Parks and Gardens of Paris, purposely split into two sections at the time of writing, so it's not one of those elongated sessions that I've done, which unfortunately probably will be happening in season 6, maybe season 7 as well. You need to stay tuned to find out about those. But we also have episode 5.10, the best bits. So if you've got any best bits, email me in the best bits at anenglishmaninparis.blog or best bits at anenglishmaninparis.blog, because I think I did the word the. It will still get through. It will still be me emailing, responding to the emails, or as I said in the conclusion, comment on one of the episodes that I purport to on Instagram at Englishman in Paris blog. I used to do the white screen. I change out. I just put a photo on, which is a bit silly because when you go into it, you can't see what the photo's of. A bit of a wasted moment, I think, but it does break it up and it becomes more Parisian again, which is what I still need to do. Then we have season 6, which will be the second half of the year, starting in June. So no, it won't. It'll be July. I keep doing that. January to May, July to November. So there we go. That's about it. I've got nothing else to say except for the last time for episode 5.7, Lifts and Stairs of Paris. Rory, sing us out.
Coffee Pot Conversations.